Hello, BookTube. You know what March needs? A BookTube event. There are quite a few. I did a rundown yesterday of the ones that I was interested in, and the ones I'm interested in observing or participating in, or I'm co-hosting. But there's one I left out that's new to me that I love. I love the sound of it completely. So I want to do a video about that, let you know there's yet another BookTube event in case you don't have enough on your docket already. This is Fierce Reads, celebrating women authors, women subjects, women in the literary world, however they're represented, whoever's doing the representing. It is hosted by Julie at the Hungry Bookworm, Shelly at Shelly Standfast, Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot, and Kristen at Enter the Book. And it is throughout the month of March. I think they have a communal project, a group read, Violeta by Isabel Allende. I don't know if they have a Discord or a Goodreads group, but you can go to any one of their channels and see the official announcement videos, and that ought to tell you. But I love the idea. I am not a co-host. I'm not sure if a man can co-host for Fierce Reads, but I'm always up for the subject. So I want to go over the prompts with you and the books that I'm going to read or reread for them, just to finish out my list of March BookTube events. It's not to finish out the list of March BookTube events. There are plenty more, but the ones I'm going to do. The first prompt is pick a book by a fierce female author. I picked one who, it's not a book by in the sense that she sat down and said, Once Upon a Time and then finished and wrote the end. But it's a letter collection, which kind of sort of counts. It's by this one person. And this one person is Jessie Benton Fremont. This is a collection of her letters, the letters of Jessie Benton Fremont, who was the wife of John C. Fremont, the wife of the Pathfinder, and the daughter of a powerful U.S. member of Congress. Her letters are great. She was what a later generation would refer to as a firecracker, what we would refer to probably as a political wife. Certainly an indispensable thing. There were a whole bunch of things that her husband Fremont could do really well, but there were a whole bunch of things that he did not understand at all, and she did. So she was indispensable. And these letters, she never crows about that, but God help you if you crossed her husband. Not in the shrewish neighborhood Karen kind of way. God help you if you crossed her husband unjustly. She had a very forceful personality, and that is terrific. So I think this is an academic press, this particular thing. I think that I read this out of a library. I don't remember how old this book is, but I'm going to be happy to reread it. Absolutely happy. Then prompt number 2 is choose a book with a strong female protagonist. This is a book that I have read before. This will be a reread, my first reread, since I read it originally. I wrote a review of it. If I remember, I'll leave a link to it down below. And it's appeared on a number of library tours, and I've strongly recommended it to you. This is by Laura Claridge, and this is The Lady with the Borzoi. This is a biography of Blanche Knopf, who did a lot to put her publishing house on the map, her husband's publishing house on the map, and to give it the incredible individual flair that it had for many, many decades. This is the story of that, and it's amazingly well done. This is a woman who was an incredibly adventurous reader, but in order to manifest that in her publishing company, she needed also to be an incredibly adventurous traveler. Not an easy thing for women to do even now. She had a lot of, she would have hated the word, but pluck. And I haven't reread this. I'm looking forward. I'm treasuring the opportunity to reread this. I think a lot of the stuff that I'll be reading for Fierce Reads is a reread. But that's okay. I love to reread. So the next prompt is highlight your favorite female characters. There are too many for me to highlight, but the subject of this next book is definitely a favorite. This is by Carol Flynn, and this is Brass Diva, the life of Ethel Merman. Once upon a time, a gigantic Broadway star. Probably not remembered anymore now. Probably she's known more for a 1-second cameo in Airplane, in the movie Airplane, than she is for anything that she did. But she was one of the greats of Hollywood and led a fascinating life. A no-quarter, no-compromise life that was fascinating. It took her to all sorts of marriages, love affairs, all sorts of face-to-face confrontations with big, gnarly dinosaur studio heads. Never give an inch. Never an inch. It's the weirdest thing to watch in her personal life. I don't actually remember how Laura Flynn does this. this will be a reread for me, but I haven't read this since it originally came out. That was a long time ago. So, but it's an interesting dichotomy to watch the various love affairs that Ethel Merman had, because she wanted very much to be a 1950s stereotypical housewife. That, you know, I'll be a little bit daffy about money, and you'll just have to talk to me like a child, and I'll have dinner ready, and I'll ask you how your day was and all that. She couldn't do it. She wanted that. All the girls that were raised in her age group wanted that, but she couldn't do it. She understood money better than the men in her life, as was proven true in more than one catastrophic marriage. And she wasn't willing to be told by a husband or a studio executive or a director, do this instead of that. By the time she was in her mid-20s, she had a better sense of what the audience wanted, and they're the ones who pay the bill, than any man she dealt with. So on the one hand, you see her fighting. Well, anyway, it's going to be great fun to reread this. I haven't done it in a long time. Then the next prompt is discover a book by an up-and-coming female author. This author would curl her toes at the term up and coming, but nevertheless, on one level, in one context, it does apply. I'm thinking here of Lindsay Chervinsky, who wrote a book called The Cabinet, about George Washington's cabinet, and she's written a couple of other nonfiction works of a little more abstruse nature, and she has a new book coming out, Making the Presidency, in which John Adams reshapes the office of the president and also the executive branch in the absence of George Washington, in the absence of a figure that quelched partisan mudslinging. Nobody played teams, nobody was scurrilous or backhanded when it was Washington who was in charge. But once he was gone, then it was left to, as Adams himself put it, ordinary mortals to carry on. And the reason I'm using Chervinsky in this is because most people will think of her for those two books, The Cabinet and then this. So she is definitely up and coming in the sense of becoming Doris Kearns Goodwin, in the sense of becoming a big name, popular historian with books piled in the new release tables of the Barnes & Noble near you. That definitely counts as an up and coming. I'm going to assume. Maybe not. Then the next prompt is read a book that explores the bonds of female friendship. I'll definitely include this one. Oh my God, can I get out of this? Now I want to get out of this. Well, I give you two examples. No, I'll just do the one. I love this book. I've read it and reread it a million times. I've given it as a gift to the only person in the world it makes sense to give it to. It's a bit of a private joke, but this is Between Friends, a collection of letters of Mary McCarthy and Hannah Arendt. Very different personalities. Mary McCarthy, in her book chat writing anyway, was very outgoing, very forceful, not above stooping to an obvious joke, happy to make her readers laugh, but also challenge them. And Hannah Arendt was far more serious, far more nuanced, deeper waters, as I'm sure that Mary McCarthy would have agreed. They made an odd pairing in the literary world, and I'll take any opportunity to reread this, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reread. That's my example for this, is Between Friends. It's a terrific letter collection if you haven't read it. And then finally, read a book based on a mythical character. And here I have, this character did exist, but so much of what has followed from when she lived has been mythology that it feels legitimate to me to call her a mythical character. I'm going to reread Margaret Ball's historical novel about a young Eleanor of Aquitaine, the Duchess of Aquitaine. And again, like with The Lady with the Borzoi, I did review this when it first came out, probably almost 20 years ago. And if I can find that review, I will post it. I thought at the time that it was slight, but graceful. Of course, if you're going to write a novel about Eleanor of Aquitaine as the Duchess of Aquitaine, you're going to miss half of the huge Europe-shaking events of her life. So that behooves you to work a little harder, but and I don't think this author quite does, but I'm going to reread this to see if that is true. That I'm going to use this for rereads. I guess it turns out every book on this list is a reread, except for Making the Presidency by Lindsay Chervinsky, which I've not only not rereading, but I haven't read it once yet. I have it, but I haven't read it yet. So there you go. that is my the answers to my prompts for Fierce Reads, and that's also my TBR. Although a lot of the reading I will do in March will be Fierce Reads. A lot of it will be, and I'm curious to know if you are going to join. I know that you are probably evented out for March. You're probably totally exhausted with March events on BookTube, but as I'm sure that I think that some of the co-hosts in their announcement videos made this point that this can be folded into a whole bunch of other March events. I would say probably 70 or 80% of the mysteries I will read for March Mystery Madness are by women, for instance. And there's no shortage of mammoths for March of the Mammoth that were written by women, including the first and best novel of them all. So let me know if you're interested in this event. I will, if I can, I will remember to leave a link not only to the 2 reviews that I think are connected here. I don't know that I ever wrote about Between Friends. Mary McCarthy and Hannah Arendt. Never mind. Never mind. You just watched a video with that pairing, whether you know it or not. But I think that those 2 might be the only ones that I've reviewed. I'll try to leave links to those, and also maybe links to all of the co-hosts to their announcement videos if I remember to do it. I'm sure you know a lot of their channels anyway. But that's one more March BookTube event. I think that's my limit. I don't think there are any other that I've missed that I intend to participate in, but this one's too good to pass up. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.